How to perform a landing in the Cessna 172R. There are 3 phases to landing. Final approach phase includes the time on final that the airplane is stabilized and concludes at the point where the plane begins to flare/round out and reduces its vertical speed before landing. Round out/flare phase is where the airplane transitions from final approach and begins to become parallel with the runway. The round out/flare phase ends when the airplane is approximately level with the ground and the vertical speed is close to 0. Touchdown phase is the point at which the plane's flight path is parallel to the runway and concludes at airplane touchdown. Terms: glide path, the angular difference between the runway and the airplane's descent path. Unless specifically desired due to terrain, the glide path should be 3 degrees. The pilots should be able to maintain a 3 degrees glide path with or without the use of visual glide slope indicators like the POPI or VASI. Aiming point, the point at which there is no relative movement. If no pilot input changed, this is the point where the plane would contact the runway. It is not a position on the horizon, windscreen, or distance above the glare shield. The actual position of an aiming point relative to a visual reference may be in different locations depending on airspeed, configuration, or descent rate. The aiming point for a landing can be at any location on a runway depending on the desired touchdown point. Aiming point should not be more than 400 feet before the desired touchdown point. Aiming more than 400 feet before the selected touchdown point is excessive and better energy management should be used. Round out/flare. The round out is a smooth transition from a normal approach attitude to a landing attitude, gradually rounding out the flight path to one that is parallel with, and within a few inches above the runway. Touchdown point, the point where the plane touches down. During stage checks and check rides, the examiner may designate a target touchdown point. It's the pilot's responsibility to determine the aiming point in order to touch down at the desired touchdown location. The final approach phase is important to a good landing. If at any time the final approach phase becomes unstable, the desired pitch and path is not accurate, or the airplane is not on centerline, a go-around should be initiated. It is very difficult for an inexperienced pilot to make a good landing from a poor approach. Maintain the desired glide path. Complete the short final check. At pilot's discretion, begin to close the throttle. The timing of the throttle closure requires the judgment of the pilot to manage the amount of energy the airplane has when it touches completes round out/flare. Throttle closure should be made smoothly and continuously to avoid abrupt changes in airplane performance and energy. Maintain desired glide path as power is reduced. This will require an increase in back pressure to maintain glide path as airspeed begins to reduce. Continue to adjust pitch to keep airplane on glide path until reaching an altitude where the round out/flare begins, normally 10 to 20 feet or about a half wingspan above the ground. The round out/flare phase is the point where the goal shifts from making a stable path and glide slope towards an aiming point. The goal in this phase of landing is to continue to pitch up, reduce the airplane's vertical speed, and reduce airspeed even further. At the end of the round out/flare phase, the airplane should be parallel with the ground, just a few inches above the runway. Transition from the aiming point to the visual reference to the height above runway is a primary visual reference. Continue to maintain a bank that will keep the airplane over the centerline. Plan the rate of pitch up so the airplane stops its descent just above the runway. Confirm throttle is completely closed. Look ahead of the airplane, and if necessary, slightly to the side to visually judge the height above the runway. Make sure pitch attitude is high enough so that at touchdown, airplane is at a safe pitch attitude and will not land on the nosewheel first or at the same time. The third phase begins at the point from which the airplane is just above the runway and near level flight with little vertical speed. This phase is usually very short, about 200 feet. The most important aspect of this phase is to touch down with a safe pitch attitude, on centerline with no side load. Look ahead of the plane to judge height above runway. If needed, use smooth small rudder corrections to keep the airplane's longitudinal axis parallel with its direction of travel, no yaw. Continue to maintain a bank that will keep the airplane over the centerline. If needed, make small changes in heading, bank, to keep the airplane over the runway centerline. As the airplane touches down, keep slight back pressure to avoid the nosewheel from hitting the runway too hard. Maintain control of the airplane by avoiding large control inputs. Maintain centerline with rudder. Airplane is on the ground, so rudder is now the primary control input to control heading. Apply brake slightly to begin deceleration. Avoid heavy braking initially as the airplane is still producing lift and it is very easy to skid the tires. Plan braking so the airplane is at a safe taxi speed at the point where the pilot intends to exit the runway. All braking should be done as the airplane is still on the centerline. Braking while turning is dangerous because the airplane's center of gravity changes in a turn and it becomes easy to skid a tire. Braking too soon after landing can be a problem because the airplane exits the runway slowly, which increases the amount of time your airplane is on the runway and may cause an unexpected traffic conflict with other airplanes that are departing or landing.